Hi, and welcome to the Get Local podcast. I'm Joanne Fowler, your host, and I am thrilled, as always, to bring to you today another local hidden gem right here in the Upstate. In our studio today, we have Savannah Dutton, and Savannah is our youngest guest ever. She's not even 19 yet. Is that just not amazing to be young again for those of us who are older? But Savannah is a woman-owned business right here in Travelers Rest, and the name of her business is called Upstate Fam, and it's fairs and markets. Welcome to the studio.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am so excited, and I know that our listening audience is going to be thrilled to have someone so young with the entrepreneurial spirit that you have today.
Yay.
So again, thank you for being in our studio.
Awesome.
Well, what we do, Savannah, is, we bring in the local businesses. We don't bring in any of the large corporations, no franchises. It's just all about local. And what we're trying to do is to just let our listening audience here in the Upstate know that there are some amazing entrepreneurs who have businesses locally here. So we want you to talk a little bit about Upstate Fam. So tell me all about it. How did you get started? Why did you start it?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. So Upstate Fam, we are known for just being a loving and supporting business of other small business owners. And so we primarily do vending events, but we are definitely branching out, and doing different events like networking, having an event where we get some guest speakers to come and do some training and insight so that the small business owners can learn and grow, and everything like that. And so that is kind of what Upstate Fam is. We have a pretty large group on Facebook of small business owners all around the Upstate, where we just focus on supporting one another. People they're just getting started. They don't know some things, and they're able to ask questions, and people are always there to answer them for them. But we started because I was working with my boyfriend's business, Carrera Skate Co., and I had just moved here from Texas. It was the top of the summer. He just left his job, and he had realized he'd been putting his business on the back burner and wanted to start vending events. And we had heard that those were a pretty big thing in South Carolina. We have craft shows every now and then in Texas, but they're just not as known as they are in South Carolina. And so I kind of became his, wing woman with those events, and I went to every single event on Saturdays with him. And we had great events and great experiences. We had not so great experiences. We had very bad experiences. And I have lots of management experience. I became a manager at 15, almost 16 back
that's
home.
Wonderful.
Yes. And I knew that being an entrepreneur was something I always wanted to do. It was just, I couldn't find my niche. I started, poop scooping at 11 years old. I did babysitting and had my own sitting service business, but I knew that I hadn't found what I really was passionate about yet, but I knew I wanted to work for myself. And I really started really wanting that when I saw my boyfriend being able to live out my dream. And so anyway, we're going to these vending events, we're having all these different experiences, and we signed up for this one event that was bi-weekly. And we had gone to it, every other week, and then we would go to a different market in between. And by the third or fourth one, we hadn't ever actually met the host of that event, which to us, we were like, we're going to keep going because, we were making good money off of it.
Right.
It was in a great trafficked area. We had just never met the host. She had only had, one person working for her. That's the person that would show up to the events. And even he really didn't seem like he really knew much about what was going on. And so by the third or fourth week, we finally had met the host, and she came up to our booth, and we didn't even recognize her. We had no idea who she was, and the only reason she had come was to let us know that she was putting in her 2 weeks with the company. Yes. And so after that, I was kind of like, man, I feel like obviously there are some great hosts out there, some amazing hosts. We've had great experiences, but we've had our fair share of people where we truly felt like, they weren't in it for the small business. And that's what putting on a vending event is about is, obviously, yes, you're making money off of it. But you're having all these small businesses come together to put on a craft show and have these people come out. And these small businesses are able to network, and they're able to meet customers and build their clientele and sell their product. And that's what these are about. And after that, I was like, I don't like how some people, they're just, all they want is the money off of it, because stereotypically people are, if they work hard enough and they build their business for long enough, you are able to make a living off of it one day. That's my dream and my goal. But after that experiences, I was like, I think I think I could do this myself. I know I'm young. I know I'm only 18, but it's worth a try, and I'm going to do it. And that's when I decided, we're going to do it. And I did it.
That's great. So when did y'all officially launch?
Yeah, so I officially started, it was funny, within 24 hours of me even coming up with this idea, I created a Facebook page. I had, not done much research other than being a part of vending events, which is obviously a great experience. But I was like, because I knew I was just going to do it. No matter what, I was going to do it. So that was back in the beginning of August. And I spent from August 12th specifically all the way to November 11th when I had my grand opening of my event, continuing to build that business and build the Facebook group and build my clientele before I officially launched it with my grand opening and my first event in November.
That is fantastic. So you've had it November, December, and then January? You having one this month as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So now how do you compete with, because now there are a lot, in the South, there are a lot of vendor events. So are there a lot in Travelers Rest, or do you go everywhere? And how are you competing with all of these other companies?
Yeah, so yes, there are a great deal of these types of events and hosts and stuff. And especially because we have quite a few months of vendor experience, we kind of know who the good people are, that they have high trafficked events. We always profit very well off of them. And so I really pay attention to, like I go on Facebook and I look up events happening on a date that I'm interested in, because I obviously have to work with the venue, make sure that they're available that day. We really try to keep our events on Saturdays. We have had a market on a Friday night before. And I pay attention to that. I'm like, okay, is there a well-known market that is already happening? And then maybe I'll try to do it that Saturday after instead. There's always going to be multiple markets happening on Saturdays, especially once the spring hits, it's going to happen.
Yes.
But I do have one of my events actually planned on the day that another really well-known event planning service is doing theirs. And so my boyfriend asked me, he's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm still going to do it.
We have it. Good for you. Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Well, look, you guys will attract your own clientele after a while, especially because you're doing it every single month. So the consistency, your neighborhoods will know that you're going to have it, and your typical shoppers who love your vendors are just gonna come, and you just have to go for it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So now you're in Travelers Rest. So are you holding all of your events in Travelers Rest?
No. So our goal is to do it all over the Upstate. We have a group of 1,000 members right now. That's obviously continuously growing, that they're located, all over, hours away even. And so our goal is to do as many as possible at various locations, all in the Upstate, to attract, different groups of small businesses and make sure we're, helping out everyone.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned something like high traffic areas. So if our listening audience, if there's someone on there who says, maybe I'd like to host a fair, maybe have you coordinated and throw it on their property. What kind of properties are you looking for?
Yeah. So I really love to do wedding venues. Obviously we don't just do wedding venues, but wedding venue owners are also small business owners as well. And so it helps them out because it's bringing people in to look at their venue. Right. Our last market that we did was at a beautiful venue. And in the feedback form, that was the top, compliment that we got, other than on us, was, this venue was so beautiful. I had no idea this was here. I'll have to use this venue for future events and things like that. So we really love to do them at wedding venues or event venues. And we really look for venues that are in high traffic areas. A lot of times wedding venues tend to be kind of down a windy road, tucked in the back, which is great for weddings, but there are a good amount that are kind of off of a busy road that are visible. And that's what we want, is we want places that are visible off of a road where obviously we advertise to people on Facebook and on social media, and we get flyers and we get yard signs, but we also want to attract the people that are driving by, that they see all these tents set up and they're like, oh, I want to go to that. I wonder what's going on. So that's something that we really look for.
Wow. So how are you pricing? And how's your pricing compared to other folks who are throwing these type of events?
Yeah, I really try my best to keep it as low as possible. To be honest, I really don't, I still work a full-time job on top of this. So I don't, make my living off of this at all. The last event, I didn't even profit at all. I only broke even, which is totally fine, because that is not my goal, is to, run with all this money and not care about the vendors. And so I really try to price them as low as possible. It's just with the economy right now and with inflation, even venues are jacking their prices. And so obviously we don't want to lose money off of these events. So as low as I can without losing money, truthfully.
So your expenses, really, you're renting these venues. It's not like you own a place and you're throwing it at the same location every single month. So how far out are your events booked? Are you booking 3 or 4 months out in advance? Like if I were to go and search you today, would you already have something 3 or 4 months out?
Yeah. So if you were to go search, you would see that we have events for January, February, March, April, and May.
Oh, wonderful.
So yeah, we're all the way booked to the top of the summer as of now. So as soon as we can get them booked out, we have had in the past trouble finding a venue in time. I really wanted to push a Christmas market out, but I had a very hard time finding a high trafficked area at a pretty venue. I knew it was going to be colder, so I wanted it to be primarily inside. And so we didn't book that one until a month and a half before. And we were so lucky to be able to sell out on our vendor spaces and things like that. So I try not to do that. I'm a big planner, so I don't like to, I like to give myself time. Otherwise I'm super stressed and all the things. So yeah, I mean, we'll set up tours all the time. I kind of work the tours with venues around my work schedule, and I get them in whenever I can. And if I fall in love with one, I'm like, when are you available? I'm booking with you.
You're booking. That's great.
Yeah.
So you talked about vendors, and earlier you said crafters. Is your fair mostly crafter businesses, or is it just a variety of local businesses?
Yeah. So I really try to keep it just strictly small business owners. I think maybe once we've had maybe an MLM before. We try to steer a little bit away from that and everything. So just because our primary goal is to support small business owners.
That's great.
And so we try to keep it at just that as much as possible.
We kind of have that in common with Get Local.
Yeah.
We like the small business owners.
Yes.
So as far as your local businesses go, do you see a lot of the same businesses every month that are coming to your fairs? Are you is it every month it's a new list of vendors?
Yeah, I would say we have about, at each market, as of now, so far, we've had maybe up to 8 or 10 of previous vendors. But other than that, what's really exciting is having a totally new group of people. I mean, there's times that I'm looking at these applications and I'm like, how many small businesses can you have in one, area? It's crazy how many small businesses there are. But yeah, we do have repetitive vendors for sure, but it's crazy how it's always just a new group of people every time. More people to meet, more people to connect with.
That's fantastic. Well, tell me a little bit about what happens at the fair. I mean, how many vendors do you have? Do you have music? Do you have performances? Kind of what do you do at your shows?
Yes. So we want to make them as fun as possible, and we want to attract as many different age groups as we can. We want there to be something for everyone. And so obviously the big thing is the shopping. So you come to one of my markets and obviously there's anywhere from 40 at the least to one of my events is going to have 80 venders.
That is wonderful, Savannah. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And so, we have such a diverse range. We really honed down on making sure that we're not overselling with categories. We don't want a bunch of candle vendors and a bunch of the same types of people, because then it becomes overwhelming for the customer. It becomes competitive with the small business
vendors,
owners.
yes.
And that's the difference. I mean, we've been to one before where there was a permanent jewelry person here and then a permanent jewelry person 2 spaces down. And we're like, what? This doesn't make any sense. So we really try to watch out for that. So there's lots of shopping, obviously. We always have music. I invested in some good speakers so we can have good music. At our last one, we had a bounce house. This amazing company reached out to us, or small business company. They reached out to us and they gave it to us for free as long as we just put their cards out so that they could advertise for their bounce house business. You know, at our Christmas one, we had Santa photos, so I paid for the Santa so that people and families could get free Santa photos. We love to have food trucks. There's nothing better than walking around and eating and shopping. I always get some games, whether if it's colder, you know, I'll set up some tables inside with coloring pages for the kids and, you know, a big board of tic-tac-toe and Jenga or whatever. Or if it's outside, we get some yard games and things like that. So I really try to make it as fun as possible. It's not just about shopping. It's about having, you know, people in the Upstate connecting and networking and having some fun, you know.
Well, I was real excited. Before we met, we were talking a little bit about some of the other things that you do that make you unique from just these vendors who are throwing events and not even going out and shaking hands with the vendors who are there. But you were talking about you actually plan activities for any of your vendors, previous, past, or even future vendors, right? So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you do for those small business owners to kind of help them grow and become better at what they do.
Yes. So the biggest thing is obviously we have that Facebook group that I'm talking about. That's where, I mean, truthfully, that's primarily what the focus is on, is that group of people. And we have little chats within that group that are kind of categorized, whether it's a category of what type of owner you are, if you're kind of like clothing and boutique, or your hand, like your goods are your handcrafted, you know, kind of separated, or if it's depending on like which event it is. We just have all these group chats, and so I love going to work all day and coming home and opening up Messenger and seeing that people have just been connecting and asking each other questions and giving encouragement all day, because that is truthfully why I started this and what my goal was. And so, you know, people are chatting, whether you just started your business, you are, you know, planning your business to start it, whether you've been doing it for 20 years. We have all those types of people in that group, and they just connect with each other all day long. So we do that. I also love to have different events that aren't just vending events. You know, I have a few networking events coming up where I'm having guest speakers come and give some training and insight. We're going to be creating vision boards together and planning our 2024 together as small businesses, and, you know, having dinner and chatting and connecting and building relationships with each other. So it's not just craft fairs and markets.
Well, and I'll tell you, you're not from the South, but the South, we like to meet and eat.
Yes.
So you're planning some really good events that I'm sure folks are going to show up for.
Yeah.
And look, as a small business, sometimes you feel alone. You know, you really feel like you don't have someone there to support you and guide you. You have your family, but your family's always going to support you in most cases, right? So even if you're failing, they're not going to say you're really failing, get out of this, you know. But when you have that support network, they're going to encourage you because some of them have been there and done that. And so I just love that your folks are actually connecting. They're not just going there to see what's the next event that's coming up. And then the fact that you're doing those other events are bringing other new businesses in as well.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I think that is great. Well, you know, one of the things that we like to do on the show is we really want to encourage other people who are out there who, you know, maybe they're looking at starting a business. And so you're still really fresh and new in it. But, you know, do you feel like you've overcome some obstacles here in the beginning that maybe you didn't expect, you know, something came up and you just pushed through it? Do you have something that you could share with our listeners?
Yeah, definitely. I think the two things I say now is, one, my age.
Yeah.
I am very big on always having feedback forms after my events, and then doing kind of monthly check-ins where I will post a feedback form. Just, hey, do you feel supported? Do you feel like this group is truly helping you? Have you learned something? Have you met someone new? You know, I want to know those things. That's important to me. I want to make sure that my vendors are getting what they need out of it. Quite often I get comments of, you're doing so good for your age, you know, you're doing great, but you still have so many things to learn as you get older, and little things like that I know deep down that their intention is definitely not to make me feel bad for it. But sometimes in my head, it kind of transfers to, oh my gosh, like, these people think I'm just a kid, you know, they are, you know, only coming to my events because I am younger, you know, things like that I've thought about. But I try to remember, you know, unless you've really had a conversation with me, I mean, I don't feel my age at all. I've never felt my age. I've always felt like I was older than I really was. And I feel like I do, you know, I probably don't sound my age. And And I think until you've really had a conversation with me, you wouldn't know that. And so I kind of give people grace with that. And that's why I make it such a big thing to go around to each of my vendors during events and have a full-blown conversation with them. If we've met before, if we haven't, I make it a priority to chat with them so they can get to know me on a personal level and not just know me for my age. But it was very easy before. You know, a statistic that has stood out to me is that Gen Z, which is my generation, makes up only 1% of small business owners.
Yeah.
And as the statistic grows and as the percentage gets higher, so does the age. So as, you know, as the percentage is bigger, the age is older. And so that was something that stood out to me, and that kind of scared me a little bit at first. You know, I was scared I wasn't going to be taken as seriously.
I see.
Yeah, and things like that. And so it can be easy to feel a little bit defeated, you know, like maybe these people are right. Maybe I just need to like wait till I get older to do this. But the truth of the matter is, this is something that I'm passionate about, and it's working out so far.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
Age is just a number.
Yeah, just keep going. Now you said 2. So what was another one?
So, and then the other one was my grand opening. I was really looking forward to that. As I said earlier, I had been planning it for quite some time, and I was like so excited. This was the kickoff to Upstate Fam. And I felt like I had so many people counting on me that were anticipating it. Even my family from Texas that I hadn't seen in a few months, they flew out and surprised me to be a part of this event. Yes. And so as soon as I saw them there, I was like, crap, I gotta, you know, I really gotta make sure we're doing this thing. And I put so much work and so much preparation, lots of sleepless nights, truthfully, to make it happen. And up until 48 hours before the event happened, the weather was looking great. And then 48 hours before came along, and it was almost a 100% chance of precipitation.
Oh my God.
And it was going to be freezing. At least to me, it was like the lower 50s, but I'm a Texas girl, so that's freezing
and in
to
the
me.
South, rain to us is like snow. So,
Yes,
so
exactly.
people don't get out in the rain as much.
Exactly. And I knew, you know, as just a person, I was like, personally, like if it was a Saturday and it looked like that outside, I would be home in my jammies, cuddling with my kids who are off of school, watching movies, drinking hot cocoa. I would not be shopping in this weather. And I knew that. And because I care, you know, again, if I truthfully didn't care about my vendors, at the end of the day, the weather did not affect the money that I took home. I still filled out space. I still, you know, sold out on spaces, and that didn't change because there was rain that day.
Bad weather, right?
Exactly. But because I care so deeply about those vendors and those small businesses, it did really affect me because I knew that they were not going to get as good as foot traffic because of the weather. I also felt like, how do I prove to these people that, you know, it is Mother Nature's fault, and they're still so supported by me. And so I made sure to go around and talk with them, and I'm so thankful for the people that they do understand. You know, with my experience as being a vendor with my boyfriend, you learn that you are, you know, kind of risking it. It's a 50-50 chance, truthfully. You know, if you book these events out months in advance, you don't know what the weather's going to be like. And that is the risk that you take. And I'm very thankful that there are people that did understand that and that didn't fault me for that. And that they knew how much of that, you know, my own money that I put into advertising for these events and everything. And I was like, man, I really hope that these people are going to come back. I was scared that they were, you know, going to think, man, this is what her events are going to be like. I don't want to be a part of those. But we had so many people that truthfully, they understood. And I made sure, and my family made sure, that we went around and bought something from every single person. And we had a few people show up, but it obviously was not as big of foot traffic.
Grand opening that you wanted, right?
Exactly. But that's okay, because our second event that we had after that was even better than the first.
See, that's fantastic. Well, that's an encouragement to our listeners, because look, you know, I want to say, Savannah, and encourage you, it doesn't matter what your age is, because I've spoken to many people in the studio and outside the studio, because I work with local business owners as well, who haven't had the work ethic that you've had from such an early age, and doesn't have the heart and the passion for their job that you do. And so your age doesn't matter. You know, it's what you do with your business, right? And I think you're doing a great job based on what I've heard today. You're going above and beyond what most people do. But it's fantastic to hear that you pushed through both of those, because you know what? You could have just given up and said, okay, I'm just going to go do what everybody else in my generation is doing and not worry about it until I'm 27, 28, whatever. but you didn't. You pushed through. So congratulations for
thank
both
you.
of those. I think that's important.
Thank you so
So
much.
what would you give if we've got listeners who are saying, and I know you're still brand new, so your dream is there, you're going for it, but what if somebody's saying, I've had a couple of I didn't have a good experience the second month. I've had a bad first month, a bad second month, maybe a bad third month. I think I'm just going to give up. What would you say to those listeners?
Yeah, well, the first thing is I would definitely encourage you. Number one, I think that is such a universal feeling right now as small business owners. I think, unfortunately, after COVID and with the economy and inflation and all the things, I think universally a lot of small business owners are struggling right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to know that you're not alone in that, because it can feel very lonely. And sometimes, you look at someone else's social media, some other small businesses' social media, and you're like, man, it looks like they're doing so good and they're so great. And the truth of the matter is, number one, social media is a highlight reel. And you have no idea what they're actually going through. And I can guarantee you it doesn't look as pretty, or it isn't as pretty as it looks, truthfully.
Right.
And so the number one thing to remember is that you're not alone in that. And so many people are going through the exact same thing right now. But I know for a fact that if we're all working together to support small businesses, if you're looking for Christmas gifts and you're looking for birthday gifts or whatever, instead of maybe shopping at, well-known big brands that are definitely, not small businesses anymore, why don't you support small businesses locally? Find someone that they handcrafted and they make it, because that you might be just, getting their groceries for that week, or you might be helping them with their bills and things, and that might be the only thing that they're doing right now. And so I think if we all just come together, even as struggling small business owners, we can still support other small business owners in the midst of it. And if we can all do that, and if we can all, universally make that decision to be a supporter of small businesses, I believe that it is going to continue to get better, and it's going to continue to, people will be able to make what they need and all the things. And even a like and a share or a sweet comment, you don't even have to spend money in order to support a small business owner.
Yeah.
And so I would just say to keep pushing through and to reach out to some people. Obviously join the page, and you'll have lots of people who are in the same boat as you that you can chat with and personally message and feel not so alone in that situation, for sure.
Don't give up. And, I always say with a small business, when you support a local small business, you're supporting a neighbor, a friend, a church member, probably a coworker, because look, most small businesses are like yourself. They have a full-time job, and then they're doing their business, which is their passion, on the side, until one day that business grows big enough, and that passion grows big enough that all of a sudden they don't have to put in another 40-hour job. That becomes their 40-hour job, right?
Exactly. That's my dream. That's my goal one day, is to not have to work 40 hours a week on top of running a business. That's a lot.
It is a lot, but don't be discouraged from it. We've all been there as business owners. We've all had to work that part-time job or a full-time job and do this part-time until, it comes to fruition. But if we're passionate about it, we have the work ethic about it.
Yeah.
We have the support and the network that we need to do that. It's achievable for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Well, let our listeners know today, if someone wants to find out more, or that maybe they just want to, they're a small business and they don't do vendor shows, the events, but maybe they want that connection, that network that you're talking about. How do they follow you?
Yeah, so our page on Facebook is Upstate Fam Fairs and Markets Vendors. We also have an event page and a VIP page. So the event page is public, so that people can look up Upstate Fam and they can see whatever events are next. But the vendor page is private, so that we can have these vulnerable conversations amongst each other. And then also on Instagram, it's just at the Upstate Fam. And that's how you can find us.
And so if someone wants to become a vendor, tell me a little bit about your qualifications and how they sign up.
Yes. So you'll just join that vendor page, and I'm constantly posting and announcing new events that I have, as well as like all the details and the application link. So you'll just find those and click that application link and sign up.
Awesome. Now, if we have a listener who says, okay, I'm in a high traffic area, I'd like to do this event to help you out and then help our local businesses, but also to maybe drive some traffic into their location.
Yeah.
How do they reach you?
Yeah, I would say definitely just reach out to me via Instagram, the Upstate Fam. On Instagram, and we can just get to chatting on there.
Yay.
Yes.
Well, I'm so excited that you've joined us today. Now, I have one question that I always ask. It's a surprise question, and I have to change it up a little bit because now people are watching some some of the shows, and they know the question I'm going to ask, so it's not a surprise anymore. So the surprise question I have for you today is, if you, and it's just a funny question, okay? So, but if you could be any animal in the world, what would you be and why?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, and I feel like this is probably what a lot of people would say, at least a lot of girls. But I would love to experience what it's like to be a little tiny puppy dog. Literally for just a day, because first of all, I love physical touch, and I like, especially being like a cute little puppy dog where you get all the cuddles, all the attention. I mean, that is the life. You get fed these treats all day, you get all this food, you know, someone dropped something on the floor. I'm a germaphobe, so I probably wouldn't really like that part, but you know, just getting to kind of eat whatever you want all the time, you know. But yeah, getting all the cuddles and all the attention, that just seems like the life. And sleeping all day,
I'm
not having to go to work, you know. I make it obvious when I need to go to the bathroom, and they just let me out, and you know, all the things. That just seems like the life, truthfully.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, my puppy dogs, they have the life. I'm telling you. I think I spend more money on them than I probably do myself. So yes. they would get taken care of. Now, you also mentioned for our listening audience, so if someone wants to join as a vendor, and they mention the Get Local podcast, you said you'd offer a special promotion. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So, like I said, we have 3 pages. We have the vendor page, the event page, and the VIP page. And whenever you look up Upstate Fam Fairs and Markets, all 3 of those will show up on Facebook, because we're just constantly posting so much. But if you join our VIP page, that is typically for our past vendors that have joined our events before or are signed up for our events. But if you mention the podcast in the questionnaire and that you're from the podcast and you join that page, for every single one of our events, we always offer discounts, whether that's 15% or that's up to 50% off, or that's, you know, the next event free if you sign up for this event, whatever. Every single event has a promotional discount. So if you just join that page and you say that you're coming from the podcast, you'll get access to all of those discounts.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank our listening audience for joining us. Thank you all so much. I hope that you can share this podcast with your friends and make sure that everybody knows about Savannah Dutton from Upstate Fam Fairs and Markets. We want to make sure that we are promoting her, but she's also promoting you. So make sure that you get your business signed up for one of her upcoming events. I also want to thank 864 Sound. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you guys, the owner, Brandon Hickenbotham, is amazing, and he has many talents. I always promote him at the end. More than podcast, he does a lot other things: original music, music production, sound design, voiceovers, podcasting, audio repair, mixing, mastering, and live sound. He is a master of music, so and audio and video, of course. So I hope that you guys will reach out to Brandon. If you have a small business in the area, I would love to feature you on an upcoming podcast. So please reach out to me at joanne@getlocalsc.com. We love to bring these real, raw, and relevant conversations from our local business owners. And as always, we couldn't do it without you. So thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you back in the studio soon. Bye-bye.